You know, I'm a strong believer that sometimes life happens for us, but also sometimes life happens to us. And therefore, I believe that everyone walks around with a mask because no one truly shows what they feel, what they're dealing with, what they're going through. Because we all yearn to be understood. But when the time comes and we are asked what's wrong, we never fully tell the truth because we're afraid of unfaithfulness, dishonesty, shame, pity. And that's kind of sad because if you are the type of person that needs to talk to someone in order to feel better, because of those fears you cannot. And most of the times your worries only become bigger, your sorrows only become bigger. And because of those hardships, I've seen people do crazy things. I've seen them abuse substances, abuse drugs, lose themselves, freak out, go shopping on an empty stomach. And then I don't mean with food, but with people to fill up the void, but they choose the wrong people and end up getting more hurt. If you'd ask me how I deal with hardships, I'd say I use them as fuel. I just turn it into anger and use it as fuel. Because for example, today I just came back. We had to bury a friend of mine who lost his life because of a tragic accident. Not even a month ago, we had to bury a family member of mine. Prior to that, two of my dear friends, closest friends, went to prison. Thank God they're out now. But then keep in mind that my father is still in prison for the past 6 months, and it's not his first time. Some financial issues, some business issues, people I trusted proved me they're untrustworthy. And I use all of those things and bottle them up and then use them as fuel because I'm genuinely tired of feeling helpless, down, sad, constantly worried about things I cannot change because they have already happened. And I just refuse to feel like a victim again. And therefore I use those emotions, I turn them into anger or rage or whatever you want to call it, and use them as fuel to push through. Because I just called out a few things that have been going sideways lately. If you look at me on my social media or how I interact with people or in general in public, you wouldn't even notice. I'd like to believe, like Tony Soprano said, that I'm the strong silent type. Don't get me wrong, sometimes I like to open up to people I trust that will never use my weaknesses as a weapon. But after that, I just shut up and keep going. And I think as a man, you should do the same. Because for example, let's analyze the situation. It's you and me, and we see two guys. Both of them had the same traumatic experience. One of them keeps bitching about it, having pity for himself, crying about things he cannot change, feeling depressed, feeling sad, and his whole life passes with those emotions. But the other guy uses it as fuel. He levels up, becomes better, becomes stronger mentally, physically, in every way, shape, and form possible. You and me, we're standing next to each other. Which one of the two guys would we admire? I think the answer is very clear. You have to always keep in mind that the pain of those hardships is temporary, but the lesson you learn out of them is forever. Just imagine what's on the other side once you overcome this hardship. 10 times the thing you desire. And I know this will sound crazy if I say it, but the harder the problem, the better you become. Let's take a ball for example. If you bounce a ball softly off the ground, it won't go as high compared to if you throw a ball with full force to the ground. It'll shoot up in the air. The same is with humans. The harder your dip, the greater your rise. It's the same thing I said at the funeral today. I said, if it weren't for death, life would have no worth. Same thing goes with hardships. If it weren't for the bad moments, we wouldn't cherish the good moments. You are a man, you have responsibilities, not only to your family, friends, parents, to the people who believe in you, but the most important of all, to yourself. You cannot let yourself down. You cannot let yourself get swallowed up by those emotions. That's why you cannot move based upon emotions. I've never seen the benefit in it. Okay, I feel sad, but if I continue to feel sad, one of the two things will happen. Either I'm gonna stay sad for the rest of my life, I'm gonna feel depressed, I'm gonna have pity for myself for the rest of my life, and this will be the reason that everything went downhill. I'll just use this excuse to be like, okay, I tried hard enough, but this one thing that happened is a valid enough reason for me to give up. Or you're gonna feel sad for a while, and then after that, you're gonna stand up and level up. But then the whole time you were moving based upon emotions and felt sad and didn't do anything, you wasted so much time, and directly it made your trajectory towards your goals way longer. So what's the use of it? I don't see any benefits in it. If I were a weak person, I would have gave up a long time ago. A long time ago. Believe me, I have many reasons. But then what? Game over? That's it? We're done? You can't, brother, you can't. If you're not doing it for someone else, do it for yourself. Have a little bit dignity, have a little bit honor. These past 3 months have been a lifetime of reasons for me to quit, but I still didn't, because now you have the chance to level up, but one day you won't. Don't let temporary issues of the past hold you captive permanently. Those hardships were a lesson, not a life sentence. Stop dwelling in them. Stand up, wipe the dust off your shoulders, and continue. Every single time you overcome a hardship, you will be smarter, wiser, more on point, more strategic. And then once those smaller hardships come along, they would be like a mosquito in the air. You would just slap them and it'll be done. What if this was that one minor hardship you had to overcome to reach everything you've ever wanted? How sad would you feel if you died not overcoming that hardship and God showed you and it was like this was the last thing that was holding you back? Always remember that hardship that came onto your path, it was never to break you. It was to form you.